I've selected 8 Wonderkids from the FM21 database. Some are already household names, others are on the verge of breakthrough. But what if we took these players, moved them to teams in the Vanarama North and South, and then locked them into 18-year contracts? Are they alone good enough to bring these teams up the English football pyramid, potentially to the Premier League before they retire? Let's find out. My name is F. Angelico, and this is a Football Manager 21 experiment. 8 Wonderkids in the lower leagues, Episode 3. Well, the one thing that does stand out to me right away is Kylian Mbappe and Blythe Spartans are in the championship. And we will look at that in just a minute here. We are going to go by career goals, though, at the moment. And that means Erling Haaland with 503 at Hemel Hempstead Town. It's Sky Bet League 1 is going to be the first guy we look at. 33 years old. Slowing down physically. All these players are slowing down physically. Mentally and technically, though, still there. Production has started falling off just a bit. 14 goals, 6 assists, 4 players of the match this season. 23-1-9, 21-6-9, 21-2-10. So between the 2029-30 and 2030-31 seasons, his production really took a hit. He also apparently got injured there, but that is also when they made it into League One. So, a not unexpected rise, really. National League South to National League to League 2, back down to National League for a season, up to League 2, then up to League 1. I suspect this is around the time they actually started getting a little bit of money to start buying more players. So we're going to look at 2028-29 in terms of the transfer window here. And you know what, we may have looked at this last episode, but frankly, I don't remember. And it was only about 3 hours ago we looked. So yeah, 245,000 euros in, 32 out. They spent a little bit of money there, 55 in there, 500,000 in here. The vast majority of it for Dylan Stevenson from Fleetwood, an attacking mid, and the other was for a guy by the name of Wilson Varela, who is no longer in the game. So, you know, 180k there, only 1.6 there, and 65 there, but they were loaning players out. Ooh, a player exchange. I haven't seen one of those in a while. Minimum cost, potential including cost, plus they're exchanging Ruben Hamilton. That's really cool. I think it's really cool when the game does stuff like that, because Lord knows you don't see a lot of players doing that sort of trade. They finished 24th in League One. Ouch. That means they're going back down. They are being relegated. They finished in last place. They only won 11 games. So let's see Haaland's injury history, because we were looking at right around in here. 29, 30, 30, 31. Yep, torn hamstring, torn groin muscle, double hernia. And that's after the broken foot and the broken toe he suffered in 2026. So, age is catching up with a lot of these players. I suspect we will also start seeing a lot more serious injuries now that they're getting a little bit older. But the fact that he has 503 goals is absolutely fabulous. He has been consistent throughout his career, above a 7.0, including this last season, even though he only averaged a 7.02. 666 appearances, 438 goals, 96 assists, 170 players of the match, and a 7.50 rating. You can't complain about that. So next up, Sebastian Esposito, 479 goals, Ebbsfleet United, Sky Bet League 1. Let's check something out here. They finished 15th. No, they didn't. They finished 20th. Above relegation, they're mostly safe there. 15th that season, 7th the year before, and 9th. So let's take a look at Sebastiano. Oh, 4th there. They barely missed out on promotion. Although, good grief, only 2 points separating the top teams. That's when Blythe went up. So it was neck and neck with Blythe for the longest time, apparently. Physically, still pretty good considering he's 31 years old. Mentally and technically, still there. Again, productive as always. Didn't miss a lot of games. His goal scoring's fallen off, but a lot of that has to do with the level of competition more than anything else, I would suspect. So 31 goals, 13 and 14, 26, 6 and 13, 24, 6 and 10, 21, 8 and 13, 22, 3 and 6. I'm wondering, have they gotten anyone else on the squad to kind of help out? Not particularly. It's Sebastian Esposito, and that's pretty much it. Cal Hallworth and Scott Clare are the next best strikers on the squad, and I would bet Hallworth is playing like advanced mid. So they have the potential to go up, though. It's one of those cases where it's just going to take better players around him. I suspect when we get down to Kylian Mbappe and we look at him, we're going to see that happening. Like as an example here, they sold 3.5, and they brought in 300. 190 in, 160 out. The year before, 475 in, 45 out. 275, 69, 775 in, 11 out. So they've started making moves. They've been trying to get some players in to help out, like Liam Kitching from Peterborough, who is no longer there. He's a scout now. Okay. Or he's a coach now. Not a very good one. Who did they sell this season that was worth so much money? Russell Colwell. Don't know that. He's a regen. He's a really good regen. Midfield striker. No, winger. Yeah, he left to go to a championship team. So hopefully Ebbsfleet can work some stuff around and surround Esposito with better players. I think, as the experiment stands currently, of everyone on the list, Esposito has the best chance to get a team to the Premier League. And I say that only because Kylian Mbappe is 35. And Blythe, oh look, Palace are the title. Good grief. And Blythe is bottom table in the championship. It would have to be a huge turnaround. They would have to bring in a couple of very good players in order for them to get to the Premier League. I think a lot of things would have to go right for them, and a lot of things would have to go wrong for other teams for Mbappe to make it to the Premier League. Grief. Physically, he's falling off. Mentally, he's still there. Technically, he's still there. And you see that a lot with older players. The physical attributes are no longer what they used to be, but mentally and technically, rather, they're still really, really good. So, the canny veteran who knows where to go and what to do when he gets the ball. Again, his production fell off when he got to the championship. That's quality of competition, but still double-digit goals, single-digit assists. Players in the match have gone down a little bit. His appearances have fallen off a little bit too, starting in 2031, but he's still maintaining a 7+ rating. His average is 7.62. So let's take a look at his injuries here. 20, 30, and 31. Yeah, 4 weeks, 2 months out with broken ribs, 4 weeks sprained ankle ligaments, 5 weeks fractured lower arm. That's just age and wear and tear catching up to him. So I suspect, all the players are moving on the 1st of July in 2038. I think a lot would have to happen for Blythe and Kylian Mbappe to get to the Premier League in that amount of time. If I extended the contracts out, it's possible Esposito and Ebbsfleet might make the Premier League. I don't know that they'll make it in 4 years, though. As a matter of fact, I'm almost positive they're not going to make it in 4 years because they're down here in League One. and they just barely avoided relegation. So maybe if Esposito was playing another 7 or 8 years, he might, but for the time being, no, it's not going to happen. João Felix, Eastbourne Burrows, back in the Vanarama. Wow. Again, like all the others, physically, he's falling off. Mentally and technically, he's still there. They got him playing advanced midfielder in the center. Still, some really good seasons. 21 goals, 16 and 13 players of the match, 23, 17, 16, 19, 18, and 12, 13, 15, and 5, 17, 22, and 8. They've made it up to the National League, and they've just been stuck there. And I think this is a combination of the fact, well, the team's professional now, but, you know, what's their budget like? Let's take a look and see where they are in terms of the table. Well, top of the table there. Have they been in a promotion fight at all? 7th there, 8th there, 12th there. Well, 4th there, but they lost out just a little bit. Or they lost out by quite a bit, actually. 8th there. So they spent some money in a couple of places. $42,000 there, a bunch of loan players. $38,000 there, 75 out. 33 in, 4.1 out. 25 in, 41 out. They're getting a lot of loan players from some really good teams. You know, Watford, Peterborough, Reading. I mean, teams that are higher. I would assume these are quantitatively better players for the level of football they're at. The problem is they're probably not good enough to get the team promoted up. And I think this is a prime example of a player on a team that can't do it by himself. The team needs to help him, and the team was never really in a position to help him because they got mired in the South. Yeah, the South. As a semi-pro club, got promoted, went back down, came back up again, became professional somewhere around in here, but they haven't had the money or the ability to draw the players they need to help them get promoted. Now, Felix is only, well, he's 34, so in 4 years he'll be 38. It's possible they might make League Two. I think a lot of things would have to go right. So next up, Jaden Sancho at Curzon Ashton. What's happening with Curzon Ashton? They're being relegated again. Wow. So for the longest time, they were like 3rd, and they couldn't get promoted. They finally got promoted in 2028-29. Managed to stay up, and then they just... Yeah, and Sancho is kind of on his last legs. 4 stamina, 3 strength. Okay, I mean, you know, physically from natural fitness up, and maybe even pace up, he's a great Vanarama player. Technically and mentally, he's very, very good. It's just he doesn't have the legs anymore. You can tell that. He just doesn't have the stamina and the strength. He started 45 games, 13 goals, 4 assists, 11 players of the match. And this was the season it kind of all started falling off for him, because the year before he had 14 goals, 17 assists, 15 players of the match. So he was double-digit goals, double-digit assists every year except the first year and this last year. And they're being relegated back down to the South. I don't know that they'll get back out of there, to be honest with you. Rain Chirkry at Chorley. They're still in the North. I think they got out once and they came back down. They finished 2nd 27-28, but they didn't go up. And they lost in the final this year. Wow. That is... Okay, that is insane. They lost this year. They lost this year to Curzon Ashton. They lost on penalty kicks in 27-28. Good grief. Talk about your bad luck. Trickery has started to fall off a little bit, but then again, he was never really all that high to begin with in some areas. I mean, mentally, in some areas, technically, he was really, really strong. Physically, I don't know that he was ever elite. I think if he'd been at a bigger club with better facilities and better coaching, he could have reached like elite physical status. But his attributes where they were when he joined were good enough to put him in the upper tier of the Vanarama League North, which is why he's averaged double-digit goals and double-digit assists and double-digit player of the matches since he arrived every year except 2. Well, I take that back. 1, 2, 3. I didn't scroll back far enough. 5. And they're still a semi-professional squad. They were never... This was one of those cases where they needed to get promoted like Blythe did. They needed to go up relatively quickly, and they didn't. And I think unless you go back and you put the players on a squad that is already professional, that's the problem you're going to run into. Is a player like Rayan Cherky, who could develop into a really good player, is just going to languish on a semi-pro team that's never going to get promoted because they can't surround him with the other players they need. Or I think in Chorley's case, it's just been a run of bad luck. I mean, they've been in the final, 4 or 5 times, and they lost each time. So, the other player I kind of had high hopes for in that they would get to the championship, other than Erling Haaland and Kylian Mbappe, was Ansu Fati. He was small. He was young enough. Dulwich Hamlet was a decent squad when he joined. Physically, mentally, technically, he is still an elite athlete. He's still up there. And he has been a consistent performer since he joined. They got relegated and came back up again. Where did they finish this year? Bottom table. But they were mid-table there. And mid-table there. Bottom table there. That was the year they were out. Yeah, this is a case, similar to the others. They got up pretty quickly. They couldn't stay up. They came back down. They came back up again. I think enough is going to have to go right for them to make it to League One. I think they can. I think a lot of that also has to do with who else the squad brings in. I know we haven't looked at this for every player, but Fati wasn't even the leading scorer on a squad this year. That went to a guy by the name of Frank Osman, who is a regen, who's actually not that bad. 23 years old, runs with the ball down the right, moves into channel, tries killer balls, good physicals, good mentals. He's wanted, though, by Newport County, who, if I recall, are up division, so they may be able to move him for the money. But they've only got one player, that's Fati, who is above a 7. And, League 2, League 1, all those leagues are a dogfight to get out of. I mean, they're some of the toughest leagues to get promotions in. Just because of the quality of there's not a lot of disparity between the quality of squads. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir here if you're a football fan at all. But I mean, if you look at the team, it's 11 points separates 8th place from 1st place, and even then, there's not a huge drop off. I mean, 68 points is there's 24 teams. So you go down to 12th. 12th place team Oldham had 64 points, so they're 19 behind 1st place. But you get back up, you get into this spot here where it's 8th through 1st place, and a tie here, a draw there. A tie and a draw are the same thing, Jellicoe. Good grief. A bad loss or a draw when you needed a win, and you're on the outside looking in. It comes down to, these teams both had 77 points. This team had the better goal differential, sort of thing. And that's kind of what it boils down to. It's just, they're all tough leagues to get out of. You have to be a bit lucky. And I think maybe Mbappe was a bit lucky. And Yusuf Demir filed. They're back in the Vanarama. Let's check them out real quick. 31 years old. Again, physically, mentally, technically still there. Still a strong player, especially for this level of football. They went up and they couldn't stay up. They came back down. Although they finished 5th the year before and they finished 11th this year, yeah, that's right. Yeah, Eastbourne is 7th. So think of all the potential Wonder Kids I've chosen. Yusuf Demir's career, at least in this experiment, it's been okay. It's nothing really to write home about. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that he ended up at Filed, and they just don't have the facilities or the coaching staff to really kind of improve him. And then he took a huge hit here, 20-30-31. Hip injury, 4 months. Broken foot, 3 months. 4 weeks with a sports hernia. 6 weeks with a broken lower arm. I mean, up until here, he was pretty healthy. The longest he was out was, looks like 4 weeks. You know, groin strain, pulled ankle ligaments. Oh, okay, there's a 5 weeks there. Twisted ankle. But yeah, 4 months with a hip injury. I suspect so, but he's still the team's top goal scorer. So, and that's where we stand at the moment. I think in looking at this, if we sort by division, Blythe has the opportunity to get to the Premier League before Mbappe retires. But if they do get to the Premier League, it's not going to be Mbappe leading him. It's going to be someone else. If the experiment was running longer, if I timed it to where, if I went back through and I edited it to where like every player would retire at 38, Esposito has 7 more years. Ebbs Fleet could get to the championship. They could also get relegated down like Erling Haaland has. You know, and this is just a case where Haaland can only do so much. You know, they have one other player who scored in double digits, this guy, Gabriel Ogunseri, who is solid, but he's 31. And after that, it's 4. So you need more contributors. And frankly, they're just not getting it. I'm wondering. They're just not spending a ton of money. I mean, 1.6 in, okay, 180 in there. 43 of it was this. This was the player exchange we were looking at earlier. Yeah, Ruben Hamilton. So, hell, we're going to set this up to run 4 more years. We will stop it on, well, the 1st of July. That's when everybody who is still active is going to report to their MLS teams. I suppose if we wanted to, we could sim ahead a couple years, see how much they're dominating the MLS, but what's the fun in that? So, this has been interesting. I wonder what would happen if you ran something like this more than once. And I think, honestly, too, I think this is an experiment that works best with attacking players. Yeah, it would be nice. Oh, hey, I'm going to put Donnarumma on a squad or Sandro Tonali on a squad. Let's see how far they go. But, you know, as much as I love Sandro Tonali, and I really like Sandro Tonali, I don't think, you know, he could pull a Kylian Mbappe and lead Blythe Spartans to the championship. So we are going to save this here and come back for the last part. And then I think what I'll do, just to drive some eyes to the website, is put together a blog post on there. I don't think I'll make a video of it. We'll have to see. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. That said, if you did like what you've seen and heard, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel for more content, questions, criticisms, comments, leave those down below. I'd be interested in any feedback you have on this or what you think could be done differently or better in terms of like maybe extending contracts or picking the teams they're on. I think this has been a fun experiment. It's something I might actually do offline too, just to see how that goes. You know, maybe choose some different players, like some like the best of the rest sort of players to see how they do. That said, this has been fun, and I will catch you next episode. My name is FM Jellico, and I thank you for watching.